right. So back at it again. Now, after you've had your intro to methods, a lot of people usually ask me, like, okay, so what is the point of writing down a bunch of instructions? I guess it's nice to be able to use them again and again, but what would be the purpose of that? Well, one of the things that's really cool about methods is that if you create a really useful method that can be varied depending on who's using it, you can get it to do really powerful things really quickly. One of the things you have to understand about methods, though, is that every method, like I said before, maps an input to an output, which means it takes in some bit of information. Sometimes that bit of information is nothing, by the way. Sometimes it takes in nothing, and it returns an output. So let me define a method here. Define a method called provide $1 million. And I'm going to get rid of this go shopping right here. I'm just going to comment it out. I'm defining a method here called provide $1 million, and I'm not going to give it any input, and I'm going to puts puts 1, comma 000, comma 000. Or let's say here's $1 million. Well, thank you very much, and let's run that method down below. Provide $1 million right here. If I run this method, this whole file, you'll notice here, oh, I gotta save it, excuse me. Let's run it again. Here's $1 million, and it puts it to the terminal. But funny enough, we're not providing it with an input, and our output is actually in the terminal. But in most types of programming, you don't want your output in the terminal. You want to reuse your output within your program. So I might say something like my bank account, and I'm setting it equal to provide $1 million. Now the problem here that you'll notice, this unused variable my bank account, don't worry about that error right there. When I run this method and I were to put my bank account, because I want it to provide $1 million directly into my bank account, let's see what happens here. Here's $1 million, and then when you try to put my bank account, nothing is there. That's super weird. I thought this method just provided me with $1 million. The problem is with Ruby's return values. And what you should know is that every method maps an input to an output, and that output is a return value. Has an output, it's return value. And every return value of the method, the return value is the last line that has been evaluated. So in this case, my last line that's evaluated is here's $1 million. Up here, my last line that's evaluated is puts buy ice cream. The problem with that, though, and I'm actually going to show you a little secret. If instead of saying puts, you just shortcut it to P, watch what happens. It gives you what's actually inside my bank account. It says nil. There's nothing in my bank account. That's pretty sad. But honestly, after college, not that surprising. So the idea here is that puts, the actual keyword puts, returns nil. Whenever you use the puts keyword, it gives you back nil, which is Ruby's way of saying nothing. Why would puts not evaluate to anything? Well, because puts' only purpose is to print something to the terminal. It's not actually used in programming to store variables and reuse them. So instead of saying puts, we can just get rid of it altogether. And if I get rid of puts, then I'm just left with, here's $1 million. Or I can say something like puts, hey, let me give you some money. And then I will just leave the last string to be evaluated as $1 million. Then let's take a look at what's inside my bank account now. If I run this again, the first thing that should happen when I run the provide $1 million method is that it will put, hey, let me give you some money. And then it will return $1 million. And I'm storing that return value of calling the method inside the variable my bank account. So when I put my bank account, hopefully I see a little bit more money in there. Oops. Ah, there we go. Now my bank account has $1 million in it, and I'm much happier. So the difference between puts and return is simply that puts is only used to print something to the terminal, and returns, and all methods return a value that can be reused later. You can store the result of running a method inside a variable, and then I can reuse that later. Say, for instance, I were just going to put $10 in here, and then I could say my bank account is equal to, well, actually, you know what? Let's just rename this, because I like that method at providing $1 million. I don't want to get rid of that. Let's define a new method called give $10. And then we'll just return 10. And so now I'll say my bank account is equal to provide $1 million, or let's say give $10, plus give $10. Well, let's see what's in my bank account now. 20 bucks. Okay, there we go. Now I've run this give $10 method twice. Each time it returns 10. So you could imagine that 10 takes the place of this method, and 10 takes the place of this method being called again here. So when I call this method twice, it returns 10 both times, and I add those two $10 bills together, and I get a $20 bill in my bank account. This is how puts and return differ, and it's really important to notice the difference between those two. Now again, this is only the very beginning. So we can do a lot of great stuff by using methods, reusing methods, and storing the result of those methods inside variables. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a bit, but I think that's enough for this video. I'm going to end this here, and I'll see you in the next one.